Welcome. It's the Single African Market Program, the program dedicated to bringing you all the actions around the journey of the continent of Africa to integrate its market. It's the continent's #1 and the most reliable media platform that brings you every action around this particular journey. And this week, we are going to dwell on some national interventions for businesses when it comes to the AfCFTA in Ghana, the commercial capital of Africa, and also the host country for the AfCFTA Secretariat. We'll be finding out from the National Coordination Office of the AfCFTA Secretariat in Ghana, for instance, how businesses can have access to other markets beyond Ghana, for instance, and also how they can access funds to boost up their businesses and all of that. And what are the registration requirements that businesses ought to know and follow to be able to take advantage of the AfCFTA. But we have touted quite often on this platform that we are going to engage a very significant agency of the country of Ghana, that's the Ghana Enterprise Agency, to find out what interventions they have in place or government of Ghana has in place for small and medium enterprises to be able to build their capacity and take advantage of the continental market. Now, this week, my guest is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Enterprise Agency, to find out from her that we have heard quite a number of financial support that have been announced by government. How do businesses take advantage? Which businesses can take advantage? What category should they fall under? And where should they turn to in order to access all these interventions, including the popular U-Start that's been announced by the Ministry of Finance of Ghana, the Parliament of Ghana. How much interest are we getting from Ghanaians when it comes to entrepreneurship, innovation? Are we seeing a lot more people embracing this?
I think so. I mean, for many years, Ghanaians have been very entrepreneurial. So if you really look at the landscape and you go across the nation, there's so many people doing different things.
I see.
And so the people who are creating, there are people being innovative, there are people coming up with new ideas and actually applying the line of being in entrepreneurship. But more and more, you see more people come out of school and wanting to start their own businesses and trying to employ more people. And all of this is because government has also set the tone for that agenda, where you have more of the youth wanting to be entrepreneurs because it is a good avenue. And also because there are different paths for success, and the government and the public sector cannot hold everyone. So there's that need, and there's a lot of education from government and a lot of conversation that is encouraging more people to go into entrepreneurship. And most especially, there's also the enabling environment to a large extent that provides the opportunity for the youth to go into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, quite often it's touted as youth entrepreneurship. Now, people want to find out, at what stage do I venture into entrepreneurship? Are you looking at folks who have graduated from junior high, folks who have graduated from senior high, or folks who are out of college, or folks who haven't been to school at all? Who are those who are supposed to get into entrepreneurship?
The conversation has always been around the youth recently, because of government's agenda and policy to support the youth. But, anybody can go into entrepreneurship. So there's no direct time or there's no specific date or age for you to go into entrepreneurship. But we always say you catch them young, right?
Yeah.
And so we're trying to catch them young to create employment. And it's actually a very fulfillment career path when you go into entrepreneurship, because you build something that you own and that belongs to you. But you have people who retire and then start their own businesses. You have people mid-career who quit and start their own businesses. And you have people who leave universities and start their own business, or those who work for a few years and start their own businesses. I mean, I use myself as an example, that I worked in corporate America for some time, moved back to Ghana, and then I started my own business as well. And I did that because of the passion I had to support the agricultural sector. So it depends on what your passion is, it depends on what you want to do, and it depends on the opportunity that's available that will drive you to want to go into entrepreneurship. So there's no set age for that.
And at what point can I be called an entrepreneur?
To make it simple, the basics of it is when you start a business, right? And when you start a business could mean you have an idea, you start a business, you transform your passion into starting a business. All these things lead to entrepreneurship, right? And so you have different ways of looking at the whole concept and idea of what entrepreneurship is and what it means to one person or the other. You have people who are employed who are also entrepreneurs as well. And then there's also what some people call intrapreneurship, where you actually are innovative and you take advantage of a system within which you work and create opportunities. But what we are talking about is outside of a system, starting your own, building that based on your passion, based on your idea, based on innovation, and growing that to a certain level. And as much as possible, you see people who even work, who have side businesses or side entrepreneurial programs that they do, and so these are different things that happen. So you could actually, at any point, you are an entrepreneur. So far as you have your own business, you started something, you're growing something, you're entrepreneurial.
Okay, so now that we know who they are and the stages at which they can join, which ones are qualified for some of the interventions that the government is putting in place? We had the Youth Start that was announced by the finance minister in Parliament. We've had quite a number of interventions. What are the interventions that are there, and who can assess them?
I think there are a lot of interventions the government has put in place. The government really has an intentional policy to create employment. And if government has an intentional policy to create employment, then you're looking at it in two folds. Those who are creating employment, those who are the businesses that already exist that also create employment. So government has put in place a lot of the policies, as I mentioned. Initially, during COVID, we had what we had as a capacities that supported entrepreneurial programs and supported businesses to help them sustain the growth of their businesses at a time when there was a pandemic. We also have what you talked about, government's flagship program that they are going to launch, which is the Youth Start program. And the idea behind it is you start. You are youth, you start your business, right? And as much as possible, it's like, do you have an idea? Do you have an idea that you think could go to market, that could be profitable? How do you take it to market? And so this is one of government's main interventions to support businesses and the youth. And the reason why this intervention is so important, it's coming at a time when the whole world is coming out of a crisis, right? But then in some way, we're in a little bit of a crisis because of Ukraine and Russia, everything else. However, in coming out of this COVID cycle, you then need to think about how do you get and place your youth to be in positions or places where they can create employment for themselves and also create employment for others. Because it's important to know that government is not saying or seeking every youth to start their business. All it's saying is that how do we create opportunity for those who can, those who need a bit of a push to start, and also those who have started to create employment. And so you're looking at it from two angles that government is trying to push. So we have the Youth Start intervention. We also have other ones where it's the Ghana Jobs and Skills program that is targeting the youth and some younger adults. So you're looking from the ages of 18 to 35, then to 40 years, where we're providing interventions for about 50,000 plus Ghanaians, building their capacity, building the entrepreneurial spirit, using various tools and curriculum and training to actually get them ready to start their own business and helping them start their businesses. And not only leaving them there, but creating opportunity for access to markets and also to raise funding and access to funding, which is quite similar to the Youth Start as well. It's all part of government's agenda and falls within that. Then you have the Ghana Economic Transformation Project that government is also setting up to support the small and medium enterprises. And in all, a total of about 1.2 billion Ghana cedis worth of interventions that will build these businesses for Ghanaians and to support the youth to accelerate their growth.
Okay, I had age limits in about the first two interventions. Those have age limits. So you have between 18 to 40, is that the case? So folks who are beyond 40, they can have access to this.
In your design of an intervention, as I mentioned, government has a policy. Government is focused on private sector development and the sector to grow. So once government's attention and focus is on that, then government is going to pay close attention to the entire sector. However, you also need to have policy directions to strengthen certain parts of the economy. So if you look at the census, it's quite clear that over 50% of them are in the youth category. Over 50% are women, right? So then how do you use the data you're getting from your census to actually strengthen the target group that are prevalent, right? Yeah. And so you see that we have interventions to support women and the youth. We have interventions to support all Ghanaians, but there are also others to support those segments of the population that are very prevalent, that are growing, because you need to be able to support them so that you curtail certain challenges that might come up or other problems that you might not see. So as much as possible, government is trying to address it. That's why censuses are very important, because with the data, you design interventions. Then we also have other programs. I mentioned the Ghana Economic Transformation Program. Yeah. That is specifically targeted at all Ghanaian businesses.
MSMEs in general?
MSMEs in general, except the M's, the micros. Okay. Because we have other interventions, even under the Ghana Jobs and Skills, the funds really look at micro businesses. But the Ghana Economic Transformation Project targets SMEs, okay, right? So the bigger businesses, it doesn't matter if it's male or female, it's any Ghanaian businesses across the entire length and breadth of the nation. So there's an intervention for everyone, and there's a program for each of them to build them, because at the end of the day, their focus is on private sector development and growth and job creation for Ghanaians.
Does a category that looks at the MSMEs in general without the age limit fall under your outfit as well?
It does.
Okay.
So if you realize, the Ghana Enterprises Agency is the apex Ghanaian body for supporting micro, small, and medium enterprises. Yeah. So what that means is all MSMEs, right? So the interventions for various sectors. Government might have a policy direction. We work under the Ministry of Trade and Industry. So the Ministry of Trade and Industry might have a policy direction to support strategic anchor industries and others. And based on that, we might have special focus or attention placed. But then at the same time, it's looking at all MSMEs. So the work we do at Ghana Enterprises Agency does not discriminate on the type of sector, if you're male or female, but it opens it up for us to look at a wide intervention, persons with disabilities, the youth, for us to pay close attention to them and build industries.
Because it appears that quite a number of people are getting so much interested in this whole agenda of setting up something on your own, doing your own business and all of that. But they also come up with a lot of challenges. They complain about taxes. They complain about where to get finance. They complain about interest rates from the banks and all of that. Where should people turn to at this moment? Can they all be trooping to your outfit? Where should they go to? Where should people go to for advice? How can they get advice in improving their businesses, particularly those in this category, the MSMEs?
So it's really important. If you look at the landscape, 80% of your economy is MSME. 70% are informal. That means they don't pay taxes. Some who pay taxes, right? But 70% informal. They might pay some form of levies, right? So we need to be able to really look at it and say, how do we support them to become formal? Yeah. And the reason is that we have an informal economy that needs to be formalized, because we need them to be able to understand them, to help them. So when COVID happened, it was those who were largely in the formal who might have benefited because they had their tax, they were registered, they paid tax. So it was easier to identify them, right? So the goal, I think, mostly for us in Ghana is to figure out how to formalize the informal. Now, where do you go to get to that point? We play a major role, education, trying to educate them on the benefits of why they need to do one thing or the other. Then you also need to educate them on where to go, which is us. So providing information, if you want to register, registrar generals, if you need regulatory support. And I think I'm very proud to say that in the past year and a half, our partnership with the Food and Drugs Authority has seen to it that we've been able to create the opportunity for people to get regulatory support. Over 900 women-owned businesses and products. And that's really not an easy thing to do. So we create the opportunity to work with businesses, entrepreneurs, or people who even have ideas, or MSMEs generally. And we also provide them with direction. But there are also other agencies, depending on what their needs are. And they can also direct them to that. So if you look at our setup, we have 204 offices across the nation. So in some instances, when people go to our offices, they should be able to get information. If not, they can always let us know so that we can follow up on that. But as much as possible, I think that one of the challenges we're facing is that people always look at the challenges from a tax point of view instead of looking at it from a growth point of view.
Really, how does that work? Because the reason in particular that I asked that is that we've got AfCFTA, which is a continental policy. We've got a national system that's trying to localize it. And we're encouraging a lot of young people to start businesses on their own. We've profiled quite a number of young people that you have supported to get access to FDA and all of that. The whole idea is to bring these young enterprises, formalize them from the beginning so that they can take advantage of the continental market. Now, here we are, they complain a lot about even starting and formalizing. There's a lot of tax that you have to pay and all of that. How do you come in? Just the way you intervene with the FDA. How do you intervene to be able to somehow water down the tax component of how they establish and get them formalized?
So if you're informal, you haven't been taxed. You might pay levies, but you're not under a tax bracket. So that's where the question comes in as to where are we seeing the challenges? Mm-hmm. It's easy to say taxation is the problem. It's like, oh, what's the problem? Oh, tax. Oh, tax. But really, what is it? Imagine if you're making $1 billion and I tax it, will you worry about that? If you put in place the right system...
Depends on how much you're taxing.
I mean, you can tax part of it, right? In UK, people are taxed 60%, sometimes 30%, you know. But the point is, I think that we should focus... I know taxes are challenges. Left to everybody, no one would pay taxes. But what I want to try and say is that, what do we want? Do we want to grow a business? Because give to Caesar what is Caesar's. But if you're going to grow a business, then you need to do certain things, which is pay taxes. Even if I give you a tax break, you will still at some point pay taxes, right? But I think that what we need to have the conversation around is how do we prepare businesses or youth or people to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area?
AfCFTA.
How do you take advantage of it? How do you build your businesses to get to that point?
Yeah.
Do we have enough businesses that are getting to that point? If you take taxes out of it, are the quality of the program that's good enough? Is the finishing good enough? Are the markets asking for it, or are we all doing the same thing? So to me, the question is not about taxation. The question is, do we even have a product? Do we have good products? Do we have businesses that are sustainable enough, right? Do we have businesses that provide us with access? Then we talk about taxation. So as much as possible, I will even encourage all of us, myself and you, and I try to tell people, let's not make taxation the focus of the conversations. Let's make what will make the businesses successful the focus of the program, of the programs and these businesses and entrepreneurs. Then we'll take it on. We'll give you examples, and we did this a couple of times, where you have people who will not even register for business programs because they think they'll be taxed. They want the government support, and you say to them, but then how do you grow your businesses if you are informal? Because if support comes in, right, as we're doing Ghana Economic Transformation Program, we're looking at people, businesses that are set up, businesses that will grow. If you're informal, you can't grow. So are you running away from taxes not to grow? Or you're going to grow your businesses? It's a very interesting one. So I think that the focus here, as we are having this conversation, is that government has put in place certain systems. FDA, we pay for it. You're an informal, but we're paying for it for you, right? We're also providing access to funding for some of the businesses. Where are the funds coming from? It's also taxpayers' money to do that. We're providing BDS support, right, at no cost to use in certain instances, or very subsidized. It's taxpayers' money that does that. In the past 4 years, we've intervened in 600,000 businesses and provided access to finance for 300,000 businesses. It's someone who paid taxes money, right? So as much as possible, we need to realize and look at it from what do we want to achieve? And what we want to achieve are strong, sustainable businesses that can compete. The taxes, no matter where you go in the world, you're going to get it. But let's focus on how we can, and we need to also champion growth and sustainable businesses.
Yeah. So AfCFTA is here. And the people who are now aware of AfCFTA, the businesses that are aware of AfCFTA, have now moved from 26% to 53% just within a year. It's growing by day. What sort of, beyond the finance, beyond the financial support, how are you bringing businesses, those who are within your outfit, the MSMEs, together to teach them some of these things, that it's not all about tax. Teach them that it's about packaging, it's about staying competitive, to be able to withstand the competition that will come from other African countries and all of that. How do people get all these education from GEA?
So we give some, other agencies give others. One, you're even looking at skills training, which maybe CTVET might provide some of the businesses and employees. We also provide that support. So really, we are not a funding agency. We are more a capacity building and development of MSMEs. So in terms of how do we provide them with the needed technical skills, how do we provide them with regulatory support, we do all of that. And we continue to provide that to hold them. So it's very good that more people have heard about it. Now we need to look at how do we also build quality? How do we bring innovation in the space of the work we are going to be doing, right? Because if all the countries are selling the same thing, then there might be challenges. So if you're going to sell even similar to same things, how do we make ours different from the next country? And we're going to really put a lot of emphasis on that through supporting businesses by building their capacity. In a few months, we're going to actually initiate the 360 diagnostic support to businesses, which is going to look at the entire business and push it forward. We're also doing a lot of digitization programs. And so how do they utilize these digital tools to build their businesses and be competitive and stay competitive? If
you ever got a chance to speak to one young entrepreneur, what advice would you give them in order to be competitive in this whole era of AfCFTA?
Stay focused. Stay focused. I think that as I realize that there's some people who have like a million things they would want to trade. But I think that one of the things is to really specialize and focus on what you intend to do and see it to the end. It's not easy, but there are processes, and take advantage of the system in a positive way. So the system allows for you to benefit from various resources if it's available. Go out there and seek it.
What should they avoid?
Doing subpar work, which means not doing the right thing, thinking they can cut corners to get the work done.
That was the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Enterprise Agency, stating clearly some of the interventions coming from government, the programs coming from her outfit that can support small and medium enterprises to build their capacity, equip themselves, and be able to take proper advantage of the AfCFTA there. And we on the Single African Market Program have made it a point to profile quite a number of the small and medium enterprises. Now, those we have profiled, and of course the many that we haven't been able to profile, including those who are also yet to even start businesses, you might want to engage the Ghana Enterprise Agency to understand further how they can support your businesses to stay competitive in the wake of the AfCFTA. They have offices dotted across the entire country, so very easy to access the Ghana Enterprise Agency and see how best you can take advantage of the opportunities they have for you to be able to harness the opportunities AfCFTA has got to offer. Now, beyond the Ghana Enterprise Agency, the Ghana National AfCFTA Coordination Office is also helping to link businesses to some of these agencies like the GEA, GEPA, the Ghana Chamber of Commerce, and all of that to see how best they can take advantage of the AfCFTA. Not long ago, the National Coordination Office brought together banks to see how best they can support financially businesses to take advantage of the AfCFTA. So this week, we find out from the National AfCFTA Coordination Office what are some of the interventions they are also offering businesses. How can businesses access funds? How can businesses understand the registration processes, for instance, and how can businesses also access the other markets beyond the Ghana market, the rest of the continent, and all of that. So we engaged the head of the strategic communications at the National AfCFTA Coordination Office. Listen.
AfCFTA, as we've been saying from the few interactions we've had with you, is here to stay. And you can see that a flurry of activities over the last 3 months is positioning exporters and importers to realize that it's a journey we have started and we need to bring everyone on board. As you said, after the International Women's Day, we featured women in enterprise. We showcased the potential of our export readiness to other parts of Africa. And subsequent to that, we've had a lot of activities and enquiries. So the first one is us sending people in the field. As you know that we're doing this breaking project. I think that is really the groundbreaking project for after readiness, going into companies, assessing their export readiness, supporting them so they actually do the first shipment if it's a fresh company. And those who are already exporting, giving them the needed boost to continue. So I think after that segment, we must congratulate you. A lot of women have been calling, requesting the procedures to, 1, register to get the certificate of origin, 2, how to export to get access to markets outside of Ghana, and 3, access to capital. Subsequent to our interview and request, the coordination office called together the 3 stakeholders who have to ensure that traders get the certificate. And the first component is GRA Customs Division. The second one is Chamber of Commerce, and the third is Ministry of Trade. So immediately the coordination realized that we have to put them together, get a secretariat housed at Ministry of Trade. We took them through training, so the inspection officers will be tripled. Now we have 12 fixed inspection officers from each of these 3 components, like 4 from Customs, 4 from Chamber, 4 from Trade. And with the training, they will be scheduled like a fixed day each week to be sent out there to inspect companies and get them ready to be issued certificates. And that was a step that needed to be done quickly to meet the surge in enquiries. So that was done this past week. Okay. We've gotten them trained, we've gotten them ready. And as a matter of fact, this very week, a team has already gone out to conclude an inspection process so they'll make that company ready or those companies ready for the certificate.
Quite a number of times too, we get people asking us, so I'm new in business, but I want to take advantage of AfCFTA. I want to look at my counterpart in, say, Namibia or Gambia or Congo or Uganda,
yes,
and trade with them. Who can assist these people to be able to identify other markets,
yes,
in other African countries and be able to trade over there? Because people are eager. The person who is producing peanut butter here wants to have a counterpart in South, yes, Africa. The one who has the lemongrass tea here wants to be able to sell in Uganda. How do, yes, we get that linkage and partnership?
That's the beauty of the AfCFTA that has just come to stay. Remember, we have over 1.2 billion people, yeah, on the continent, and we want to trade amongst ourselves. So if you recall, we have the Africa Trade Observatory, which is work in progress. Market access is what you just talked about. I'm in Ghana, I want to sell to someone in Namibia. How do I meet that person?
Yeah.
And a lot of these interaction, digital will play a big role, having access to the data. So that is what we did the last time, creating the Ghana Information on Trade repository. So if you were to have that website live, then you can click on Namibia. What is the competitive advantage? What do they need? What can I provide? And these are, because AfCFTA, remember, it's just a year old, all these are the great ideas that we are populating on sites, on platforms, and information portals like you and I sharing. So that question, in the few weeks or months, you'll be able to access GITR, Ghana Information Trade Repository. And that was the training we had last week. So all that data will be gathered. And also, remember, part of the steering interministerial committee working with the coordination office is the foreign affairs. Trade attaches in all these African countries where we don't have it. You can use the ambassadors or their counselors to gather that kind of information, and it will be loaded on websites. And now it's easy with your mobile phone, yeah, or apps on AfCFTA. You can say, I'm sitting in Accra, I want to send lemongrass to someone in Namibia, how do I do it? Where do I find the market? So with the ATO and the GITR, all these are trade tools. That is work in progress. But we constantly have to encourage, especially young entrepreneurs, fresh starters, to be hopeful. Yeah. Go to the website, externalunipassghana.com, read on AfCFTA information, keep checking. In the next 3 weeks max, you see the process to register. Now you want to even have the inspection team come to your premises to make sure that you are export ready. You will have access to that on our page, afterghana.com. It will be populated soon. You can fill your form and schedule these appointments. So everything is coming up. Based on some of the interviews and interactions we're doing with you and the feedback that we're getting, we are responding quickly to the needs of potential traders. So I'm really very hopeful.
Excited about this, and I'm happy that you talked about the questions that are popping up. One major question that has been popping up that almost all our folks who are watching both in Ghana and across are asking is how to get finance.
Yes.
Access to finance is a major problem for a lot of people in business. Women in business, women in trade, young people in trade, even men in trade. Everybody wants to know, how do we get money to trade so that we can fit in the market, be competitive, and be able to fit in the AfCFTA. Where is the money?
Where is the money? That's a very brilliant question. And you know, as we were interacting, there are three key things to get people AfCFTA ready. That's what I say. The first one is really the market access. The second one is being AfCFTA compliant, getting the certificate of origin. So now we have to go through the training, get the inspection. Now the third biggest component is finance, access to capital.
The money.
Where is the money to trade? You have your certificate, you have your product. Now where is the money? So we proactively engaged banks in December to prepare them that, look, this is a field of opportunities, support traders, but they know how to do it. But you just have to have an AfCFTA product, have an AfCFTA desk, so people walk in. You have to brand a financial product to meet that need. And some of the banks have started already. I don't know of all of them, so I don't want to be discriminatory, but I know of EcoBank, I know of UBA, and I know of Standard Chartered. And I know the rest will soon all follow. So you walk into a bank, and you can just go straight to a retail officer or an officer who is interested or just focused on AfCFTA. And a typical example is how they do invoice discounting, how they can help you meet an order. So they have to work around this opportunity as financial institutions. And that is a field that is open for all banks, small or big. And I think with that, a lot more people will be export ready, and the risk is also very minimal. If the person has an order and you can verify from your sister bank, that's why intercontinental trade will be easy, because, for example, EcoBank, I use EcoBank as an example. There's EcoBank in Kenya. So if you have a lemongrass order for a client in Kenya, then EcoBank Ghana will have to just link with their counterpart and say, collect the money there, we will fund it. So there are different ways, innovative financial packages that the banks have to step up and not be too conservative, but to open up, liberate these financial packages to support after takeoff.
Is there a way the NCO is looking at how to bring some of the businesses closer to the banks, and also look at some of the bank policies? Because the banks, for instance, say that, look, we just don't come in and support a fresh entrepreneur. We need to be sure that you'll be consistent.
These are opportunities, and those years are caveats that could be just banking policies that needs to be looked at, because the opportunities are here now, and the risk mitigation is really where the bank will need to focus on. That's why we met the banks first, and I think the next meeting will be more the potential traders and the banks being put together by NCO. Instead of doing regular exhibition separate, we bring them together, and the banks will also have to be more innovative, because you know their business is risk assessment. They can't just throw money at people. So you have the opportunity to meet. The readiness is key. The person has gone through the mail, GNCCI, the chamber has vetted them, GRA, customs have made sure they are compliant, and Ministry of Trade has looked at their regulations and standards. So you are meeting someone at the level of a certain criteria, vetted, pruned, and assessed, what we are calling the market access program. So you are not meeting somebody just off the street. So when we put people like that in a room and we get the banks, about 40% of the vetting process is done. But again, you need to have your credit worthiness, all the compliance that banks will need. What we are saying is look at it from a different eye. Let it be an after product. What if you have a sister bank, like the ones we mentioned, EcoBank? If I have an order to sell black soap to a potential client in Kenya, the guarantee is that the Kenyan counterpart deposits the money in your sister bank. And they have these, they know the terminologies and the banking terms to do these things. So you are guaranteed of payment until the goods get there. The FOB, CIF, whatever they have to do, banks have to play a critical role to uplift our people from the level of small scale businesses of 2,000, 3,000. If they boost it, we will see champions in trade across the continent. And you know, it can be done.
So lots of interventions here and there, and this is what we promised you, that we want to be bringing all the institutions that are encouraging businesses, encouraging citizens on the continent of Africa to be able to take proper advantage of the AfCFTA, because Ghana hosts the Secretariat. Ghana is leading most of the programs and all of that. It is important that you get to understand what is being done at the national level in Ghana so that you can take advantage of it properly and then you don't get left behind. So we will continue to bring some of these information closer to you and bring you closer to the AfCFTA for your own advantage. So please tag along and get to understand the AfCFTA. Now this week, quite a number of things are happening across the continent of Africa, all bringing the continent together in terms of doing business, in terms of engaging together. The Food and Agriculture Organization under the United Nations, for instance, held the Africa Conference all the way in Malabo in Equatorial Guinea. The single African market had our lenses over there. Listen. African countries have committed to raise their ambitions and accelerate their actions towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly in ending poverty and hunger, as the 32nd session of the Food and Agriculture Organization's Regional Conference for Africa comes to an end in Malabo, capital of Equatorial Guinea. 62 ministers from 54 countries participated in the conference, with African countries' representations considered to be one of the best, especially due to the hybrid mode, with more than half of the African ministers attending in person in Malabo and the remainder joining online. Food and Agriculture Organization's Director General Q Dongyu urged countries to adopt enabling policies, innovation in science, and proper investment for agri-food systems transformation in Africa. The Director General also highlighted the desert locust control operations in Eastern Africa as an example of quick and effective actions on the ground, together with partners under FAO's technical leadership. It was revealed that in addition to climate crisis, long-standing regional conflict, and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, now in its third year, a severe drought gripping East Africa, and most recently, the war in Ukraine, which is severely limiting the supply of wheat to Egypt and nearby countries, has pushed the prices of some staple foods on the continent. The number of people going hungry in sub-Saharan Africa is on the rise again after years of decline, with latest numbers available indicating 282 million people on the continent of Africa, or over 1/5 of the continent's population, not having enough food, representing a rise of 46 million from 2019. The president of Equatorial Guinea, Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo, said the conference was taking place at a critical time for the region's economy, and that there was an urgent need to transform agri-food of Africa in a sustainable way. So that was the FAO conference in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, on behalf of Africa, trying to see how Africa can secure food and all of that coming together on the continent. Coming up next, the weather report for all cities on the continent of Africa, the flight schedules leaving the commercial capital of Africa, that's Accra, Ghana, to the rest of the continent. Also, the forex rate for the African market and the AfCFTA party status. So we will continue to encourage you to follow this platform, because it is only this platform that you get all the actions. And pretty shortly, it won't just be the national office in Ghana. You begin to learn a lot more that is happening or going on around the national offices across the continent of Africa. We will endeavor to share them with you on this platform, the Single African Market Program. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you same time next week.
There's a particular righteousness in the name of great Africa. It's a fight and conquer now. In the name of great Africa, there is victory. In the name of grace,